This is my town. This is my street. These are my neighbors. This is Nora. Nora is in her early 90s. She's vaguely related to my family in some ambiguous way that's been long forgotten. 15 years ago, Nora moved in here with her very special friend, Harry, who lived up to his name. Harry had a brother named Hank who lived here. Hank had been divorced 4 times, and when the wife-to-be number 5 got caught getting some extra lessons from her horseback riding instructor, he decided that it was time to live alone. Now, these 2 brothers never spoke to each other, not for years, not for decades. This house, in the middle, stood empty for a lot of years until my mom suggested it would be a good place for me to live. And I was looking for houses in the area anyway, so I moved in. Nora and I have a grudging respect for each other, and she's never boring. Up until a year ago, she insisted on mowing her own lawn. She also washes her used aluminum foil and hangs it up on her porch to dry and reuse. That's why I never accept leftovers from her. But soon after I moved in, I noticed that Nora had developed a lot of problems since I'd known her as a kid. I think the word's agoraphobic, but it's a strange kind of agoraphobia. See, she's fine with leaving her house on occasion. She just doesn't like to leave her yard at all. At least not these 3 yards. She can often be found sitting on her porch, chain-smoking cigarettes, but for the most part, my view of her is right here at this little window. Harry and Hank both had a lot of health problems, and a few years ago, Hank got put on a ventilator. His daughter hired a nurse to come in twice a day and look after him. In between the nurse's visits, Nora visited Hank, and how do I put this? She sometimes stayed until far into the evening. A few months later, Harry got put on a ventilator too. Nora moved back and forth between the 2 houses, and what I can only imagine was the creepiest romantic triangle ever. I would leave for work in the morning, and I would see Nora sneaking out of Hank's house wearing a bathrobe and slippers. Hey, Nora, what's up? You know what? Bad phrasing. I really don't want to know. Then one day, Nora didn't go home. No fighting, no explanation. She just stopped going back to Harry. Hank, ever the helpful brother, started sending his nurse over to Harry's house every day. He even paid for a second nurse to be full-time for Harry. Then Hank passed away, and Nora stayed in Hank's house all by herself. Harry had flowers delivered. She'd leave them on the lawn. But when Harry followed his older brother to the grave, in his will, he left his house to Nora. She still keeps both houses in her name. She never sold either one. But she moved into Harry's, and that's where she is to this day. My nosy neighbor Nora and I lived in the same town long before we both moved to Humbug. We're related, somehow. At least that's what she tells my family. Once when we were little, my brother and I got bored and decided to put on a stupid little show in our backyard. We worked out skits, mostly stuff we'd seen at the movies, and Oscar did his magic act that he still does to this day sometimes. He could pull a kitten out of a hat, so long as the kitten stayed quiet for the whole show. He and his friends could do pretty cool stunts on their bikes, and I had a friend who could burp her way through the Cat in the Hat. So we practiced for 2 weeks, and then we invited our friends from school, cousins, and our neighbors. They're all nerds like us, and they were excited to help out. See, this is what happens when kids are poor, and they only pick up 2 channels on the TV, and the internet doesn't exist yet. And because we were inviting my grandparents, Mom said we had to invite Nora. Fine, Mom, we'll invite Miss Old Grouchy Pants. That'll be great fun for the kids. Nora shows up early. She's hefting a 5-gallon bucket that sloshes as she walks. There's purple stuff inside and it smells funky. Nora sets it on the ground near our back steps and takes a seat on the grass next to the kids. Doesn't say a word. Okay. We tell stupid jokes about our teachers. The kitten stayed quiet. Everything's going pretty well. When at the back, we hear someone hooting. And then another person snorting and laughing. And then some kid yells out, "This sucks! He sucks! They suck! Everything sucks!" And Amanda from my science class gets up and shakes her enormous rear end at the crowd. Jason from my brother's homeroom tried to give a standing ovation and fell over. The kid whose lap he landed in shoved him off and started wailing on him. Now, these were not kids normally prone to fighting, but soon we had an all-out brawl on our hands. Another kid started puking all over everyone, and 2 more laughed so hard they wet their pants. Best audience ever. My brother and I ran into the house to get away from the chaos, and we happened to spy the 5-gallon bucket by the steps, and there's a big old spoon in it. What's it called? Ladle. A ladle in it. And the purple stuff is almost gone. The next day, Amanda and Jason told us that Brandon, the creepy kid who kept up a constant stream of silent but deadly farts at recess, had seen Miss Nora sipping the purple stuff and had offered him a taste of it. He said it was really bad, but he kept going back to the bucket and helping himself to more. And other kids kind of got curious and they took a taste for themselves. Brandon ended up in our bathroom sleeping through the whole show. We didn't find him till everybody else had gone home. He was still kind of sleepwalking as he left. So Mom and I took a little trip to Nora's house and asked her where she got that purple stuff. She said, "Oh, that's an old family recipe. Grape juice from that vine over my back patio. You press them with a tater masher, and then you strain the whole thing with a cheesecloth. I mixed that batch up with extra sugar to hide the taste because it was kind of old." Old? How do you mean old, Miss Nora? "Well, it'd been sitting in my basement for a couple months. Had a lid on it, though, so don't worry no spiders got in. I figured a kid's party could do with some refreshment." "So, when am I going to get my bucket back?"